This podcast is sponsored by Frog Eyes Incorporated. Need ingredients for your latest potion, oil, elixir, ointment, filter, tincture, or tonic? Frog Eyes has the region's widest selection of beetle stings, newt's ears, troll blood, crocodile tears, dragon thorns, fairy wings, gnatwort, horse antennae, jabberwocky breath, and cheese.
Hello, and welcome to Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG talk. I, as always, am Morris, aka Russ, or Russ, aka Morris, and with me is my robust and rambunctious co-host,
Peter Coffey from the Southampton Guild of Roleplayers. Russ, has always a complete delight and pleasure to be here with you.
So, you've been sailing this week, haven't you, Peter?
I have been sailing, it's been awesome.
You've been out, what, on the Solent?
Yes, that stretch of water between Southampton, Portsmouth and the Isle of Wight. Touched on Yarmouth, Gosport, Cowes, the home of international yachting, and of course Southampton. It's been pretty nice.
Radio, so would you like to tell us what has caught your eye in the last week while sailing? What RPG caught your eye as you travelled across the Solent?
Well, I'll be perfectly honest, it was actually something that I've gone and spent money on.
Ooh.
I know, right? Drive-Through RPG has got a game called Maze Rats, which I was interested in, and it was $3, £3. It seemed to be the same in sterling and US dollars. I thought, well, why not? It's got good reviews. It's got some excellent advice for how to run games, and it has a big pile of D66 tables, which would provide all the random generation stimuli that could possibly design.
I do like a good D66.
I know you'd like a good D66, Russ. I saw it and did think of you. Yeah, no, it's got some nice things. I particularly liked the spell casting ability because you generate your new spell randomly, because if you've got a spell slot and you've used a spell, it's gone forever from your mind, but you get a new one.
Ooh. And you don't know what it will be.
You don't know what it will be. You roll D66. Oh, yeah. And then, and you'll like this bit, I like this bit particularly, the GM will tell you what sort of spell it is from the name of the spell that is randomly generated. You can see why that might be close to my heart.
Yeah, that does sound quite fun. I might check that out.
Absolutely. Like I say, it's Maze Rats from Drive-Through RPG. Like £3, bargain.
Fair enough.
Yeah. What's caught your eye this week, Russ?
Well, I have to admit that it's not actually technically an RPG-related thing, but there is an RPG of it, which is why I'm claiming it's valid for this segment.
It's a tenuous link, but I'll allow it. What is this thing of which
I'm going to give you a clue.
That's... Oh, James Bond.
Yes.
No, of course, your dulcet tones were doing a brilliant impression of the Doctor Who theme tune.
Yes, indeed. Yes, they were. So Doctor Who came back to our screens last night.
Oh, but there's exciting new developments. There's a female Doctor, I believe.
Really?
You didn't notice?
I didn't notice. No.
Okay, fair enough.
No. So it hit our screens last night. Jodie Whittaker was great. She was fine. I wasn't sure what to expect from her because I've seen her in Broadchurch, and while she was great in Broadchurch, I kind of struggled translating that character. Even though I realised she's an actor, she plays different characters. I understand that's the job definition of an actor. I do understand this, but
I'm going to have to invoke the spirit of Jean-Luc Picard and say, acting. By which, of course, I mean Patrick Stewart.
Anyway, that's the only thing I'd seen her in, so I was sort of, that was the image in my head of sort of what she was like.
Absolutely.
She was great. I thought the episode itself was middling. I'm never really that fond of it. Like they always do these, the Doctor has amnesia.
Oh, regeneration episodes, yeah.
I hate them.
Yeah.
All right, that's a strong word. I don't hate them, but I just find it's getting a bit repetitive now with every Doctor having this stupid "Who am I" kind of episode.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm trying to introduce the character, but it's the Doctor, man. It's the Doctor woman in this case, and it's Doctor Who. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's basically what's caught my eye. I really quite did enjoy that episode. We had a bit of a Doctor Who party here last night, which I've just finished clearing up.
So that's what caught your eye.
Yes. Also, there's a Doctor Who RPG. There you go. So it's related to our podcast.
Who did the Doctor Who RPG?
That was Cubicle 7. It's been around for years now.
Yeah.
I do quite enjoy the initiative system in the Doctor Who RPG. I think we might have mentioned it on the podcast before.
I think I have read it at some point. Was it like talk me through? It was like talking first.
Talking happens first.
Yes.
I can't remember the exact order. So talking, running,
Yeah.
doing, fighting. I think
Absolutely.
are the four. So everyone who just wants to talk gets to do that first.
Yes.
Anyone who wants to fight, because it's Doctor Who and it's generally a non-violent kind of solution to most problems, that happens last.
Absolutely. And certainly it does mean that you can say one step ahead of the Daleks.
Yes, there is that, because Daleks aren't so great at the talking, the running, or the doing. They're just kind of like the fighting.
They're not chatty, are they? It's like, they just get an idea in the head and they stick with it, and that's it.
So should we have a look at some news?
Yes, let's
do some news. Okay then. So in the news, this week, so Evil Hat Productions, who make the Fate RPG, is scaling back a lot of their product offering over in the near future. So they've sort of like had this financial review and examined the sales of their product lines, and as a result of that, they're sort of postponing or cancelling a whole bunch of products, and they're laying off staff. So there's Carrie Harris, who's the head of marketing, and Chris Hanrahan, head of business development, and the art director, Brian Patterson. They're all leaving the company now.
They fired the head of business development.
Yes.
That's okay. That's certainly a decision one can make.
Most of their sort of non-role-playing projects, they've been put on hold. They've cancelled the Cinder Spires card game, along with the Fate City Toolkit and Fate Infiltration Toolkit. And the Fate Space Toolkit is on hiatus. There's a whole list of what's going on with various projects on their website. But yeah, that's basically it. They're just like cutting right down on all their stuff because it seems like a lot of lines haven't been doing as well as they hoped.
Oh, do you think they might be having a similar problem to Wizard of the Coast back in the
TSR?
Exactly. Back in the day, when they produced all these excellent settings and then nobody was buying enough of one particular setting.
Yeah, maybe. That might be it. I mean, I haven't got any real insight into their business, but yeah, maybe.
No, absolutely. Well, all our best to the people at Evil Hat, and hope that things pick up for you.
Yeah, I'm sure things will turn around.
Yeah.
They're a good, solid publisher. They know what they're doing.
Absolutely, and Fate is a very popular RPG.
Hey, so would you like some errata for D&D 5th edition?
Oh, errata, my favourite.
Yes.
Go on then. What have we got in the way of errata for me?
So, it's been a while since there's been any errata for 5th edition, and there is some on its way soon. So, in the next month or so, there's that core book gift set, which we mentioned on the podcast before.
Oh, yes, it's all got variant covers.
Yeah.
Does it come in a slipcase or am I making it up?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, there we go. There's a picture of it. Oh, that is some lovely art. It's almost Celtic in its knotwork style around the edges, I think, on the borders.
Well, to coincide with that, they're releasing updated errata documents for the Player's Handbook, Dungeonmasters Guide, and Monster Manual. The core book gift set, I think, includes these corrections.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, I assume so. So that D&D Calls gift set, it comes out November 13th to the mass market, a bit earlier to the sort of Play Network game stores. Yeah, and as you said, it contains all 3 core books in a slipcase, $169.95 for the standard edition, and there's a more expensive, exclusive limited edition.
Hello, your editor Daryl here with a minor correction. The limited edition covers for the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition box set are the same price as the regular edition. However, they're only available through hobby stores and not through mass market outlets. So any versions you see on Amazon or other outlets are from game stores or individuals selling them as third-party sellers on the marketplace.
So, errata for D&D coming very soon your way.
I shall look forward to it. It will doubtless provoke a lot of conversation upon the technical forums of Reddit, where dedicated optimizers await your post in order to find out how best to take your terrible character idea and try and make it work in some fashion.
Or alternatively, you could just use the optimization forum at EN World, because that's better, because it's mine.
Oh, okay. We could definitely do that as well.
Anyway,
I'll have to go and try and find it. Or send me a link to the thing. I'll see if I can got anything to say.
Hello, your editor Daryl here again with a quick note for Peter. I made it easy for you and added a link to the character optimization forums at EN World to the show notes.
So, Android Netrunner.
Yes.
Card game.
Yes.
It's, not in publication anymore.
Okay.
But Fantasy Flight are creating a campaign setting for their Genesis system.
Oh, yes, that's the one where you roll a handful of dice depending upon successes, complications, all read off the dice,
Yep.
which you can't read.
I struggle with them, I agree.
That's fine.
I'm sure that's my problem and not the dice's problem.
Absolutely. Accept responsibility. Don't blame it on the dice. Poor workmen.
I blame everything on dice.
Yeah, to be fair, it is their fault. Little plastic bastards.
Yeah. So the Android Universe 256-page book, retail price of $49.95, currently in development. There's no confirmed release date yet, but it will require the Genesis RPG core rulebook in order to play. So it's strictly a setting rather than a standalone game.
Okay, fair enough. And quick question, Netrunner, do you know the basic premise of that?
It's a cyberpunky thing, but no, I'm not super familiar.
I think it's vaguely that you take the part of one of two teams of essentially cyber hackers, and one is trying to break into a corporation, a sort of Gibson-esque Matrix-style invasion, and the other is the local corporate security team, which is saying, no trainers. So that looks like that should be quite interesting, potentially. Certainly the game itself is very popular, as CCGs tend to be.
Free League and John Ringen have merged. So Free League Publishing, Tales from the Loop.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Mutant Year Zero. They've merged with John Ringen, which is another large Swedish publisher, to form one mega Swedish publisher.
Sounds good.
Under the banner of Free League. Free League Publishing, Team John Ringen. They're responsible for things like Tales from the Loop, Simbaroom, and Mutant Year Zero. And the combined companies can be bringing out several major game launches in the year to come. And they keep winning awards, and they keep it topping sort of anticipated Game of the Year lists and all sorts of stuff, because they really do produce beautiful, beautiful stuff. So I'm really excited to see what comes out of that.
Industry darlings, certainly. I have played Simbaroom, and it's an interesting game.
Can you tell me anything about it?
I only played at a convention.
Right.
What we had was a D20 based system, which obviously will have a lot of crossover appeal.
Yeah.
We seem to be going on a fairly standard fantasy romp. I think probably the most notable thing was I don't think anyone had anything particularly much in the way of magic.
Right.
Yeah, the setting was fairly interesting. It looked like some sort of magical weapons of mass destruction had been unleashed. So presumably there's all sorts of plot and details awaiting in the wings on that. But yeah, okay. I didn't realise it was the same people that did Tales of the Loop, so that would be worth looking at.
So, how would you like a free Kickstart for Just Dredd and the Worlds of 2000 AD?
Oh boy, would I?
You have to pay me for it.
Oh, okay.
No, you don't really. It's free.
Hey, there we go.
Clues in the title. Last week, the Just Dredd Kickstarter hit £100,000.
What? That's crazy about. What's that about? $130,000 or something like that?
Yeah, I think a pound's about $1.30 at the moment, give or take.
But that's an incredible amount of money. You must be very pleased.
I'm very pleased. So as a celebration, we released the 29-page free Kickstart, which you can grab over on the Kickstarter site itself. And this is 6 pages of rules, which really distills down their sort of game system down to its basically simplest form.
Okay.
Just describes what an attribute check is, what an attack is, and
a
really simplified version of the combat system. It's got 4 pre-generated characters, and then it's got an adventure called State of the Empire, where you, as a team of judges, have to go into the old Empire State Building, which is derelict and has been used for dozens of different things over the sort of 200 years since present day, and is currently filled with some sort of vagrants and gangsters and other sort of stuff, and you have to basically clear out the Empire State Building.
Wow. That's a big building.
Yeah, it's a big building. You only have to do a couple of floors of it.
Oh, okay.
You get assigned 2 or 3 floors, and then other teams get assigned other.
With you. So you don't have to do the whole thing. That could get a bit repetitive. Oh, that sounds really good. And so what's that? It's available completely free of charge from the Kickstarter?
Yep, so it's completely standalone, so you don't need the core rulebook in order to play it. You can just download that as the PDF, 29 pages, and just start playing straight away with the pre-generated characters.
Amazing.
I mean, it doesn't tell you how to create characters or anything like that. That's
Well, you got some pre-gens.
Yeah.
And you've got to keep something back.
Yeah, exactly.
Always leave them wanting more. Right?
exactly
Showmanship.
Yes.
Oh.
Right. What else do we have in the news? So, Ravnica.
Ah.
So
Guildmaster's Guide to the much-awaited Magic setting.
the imminent Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. Wizards of the Coast Nathan Stewart. They do a live stream show every week over at Wizards of the Coast. And he showed off the Circle of Spores Druid from the book. Now, basically, he was on screen and just sort of showed it up to the camera. So, some people got some screenshots. They're a bit, they're a bit blurry, as you can imagine. But essentially, yeah, you can see the Circle of Spores Druid here. So that's the page here. This is really great podcast material here as I show Peter some text. But
it's got a fairly classic character design. What people get at first and second level. It's got some details. So symbiotic entity. That's the sound. Spreading spores. It sounds like this Circle of Spores Druid might be a fun guy to play with.
So there's a new game from Clarence Red of Frostbite Books, and it's called Odd Soot.
Interesting.
Against the black and white backdrop of an alternate 1920s, players will dive headlong into the mystery of a strange disease known only as the soot.
Interesting.
So the soot appears to be some kind of parasitic disease, but nobody really knows what it is. And it's been dormant for over 200 years, and it's returned with a vengeance. Oh. So it's an alternate universe, and humanity exists on a planet called
Eorth.
Eorthe. And they've already found a way to travel through space.
Ooh, nice.
Using the remains of spacecraft from an ancient civilization called the Luminarians.
Handy.
So basically we've got interstellar travel during the 1800s. There's a sort of a character creation process which is similar to the old sort of Palladium titles like Rifts and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Not 100% familiar with the character generation for such things.
So in those, you have a character concept, characteristics, attributes and skills, a culture, a career, bonuses, equipment, and circles. So attributes, they're like strength, dexterity, constitution, size, intelligence, that sort of stuff, being 3d6.
Yeah.
The modifiers to these are die rolls. For example, rather than having -2 to a check, you'd have -1d8 or -1d6 to a check.
Okay. Does it reduce your die pool, or is it a separate negative dice you roll?
It's a separate negative dice you roll.
Okay, good to know.
I think.
Okay.
It uses the Mithras Imperative role-playing system. I've not heard of this system before, but...
Yeah. Rings bells.
So about 200 pages. It's like a player's handbook, GM guide, and creature manual all in one. So basically your standard sort of one-book RPG.
Nice.
So it's worth... if you want to try something out a little different, I reckon it's worth taking a look at that one.
So that's what Odd Soot from Frostbitten Books. Well, that's certainly a thing. What else have Frostbitten Books done?
M-Space, Odd Soot, and Reflux, which is a scenario for M-Space. So M-Space looks like it's a science fiction game, also using that Mithras Imperative system. And it's a toolbox containing rules for starship design, combat, alien creation, world generation, all that sort of stuff.
So if you're into the Mithras Imperative, this is a very exciting science fiction expansion.
There's also on their website, there's a free preview of Odd Soot, which is worth taking a quick gander at.
Absolutely. Well, free preview, always worth a shot.
Yeah, why not? How would you like a nice CR27 monster for your D&D game?
CR27?
CR27.
By Jingo, that might take nearly 2-3 rounds of the players to destroy.
Well, if such a thing would appeal to you, you might find yourself enjoying Sindrathrax, the Soul Hoarder.
Sindrathrax, the Soul Hoarder.
Yeah, so over on Insider...
Ooh.
Patreon.
Is this Ian Sider, the Ian Wold publication concerned entirely with D&D?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay.
So we've got a ancient red dragon, but it's an ancient necromantic red dragon. With all these sort of necromantic transformations and things, she's been forever altered. So she's like the size of a regular sort of red dragon, but she's all gaunt and skeletal, and her scales are all now like bone white. And she radiates this sort of faint spectral glow, and what she can do is, in addition to all the sort of regular dragon-like abilities, she's got sort of power over mists, and she has the ability to sort of suck your soul and consume it. And she derives power because she can then these souls that she eats, she can spend in order to do
Terrible things.
Nasty things, yeah.
Oh, I see, yeah. So.
Yes, she's quite lovely.
Yeah, well, that sounds like definitely one heck of a dragon. Obviously, it does follow in line with the traditional, the more objectives, the scarier the monster rule of thought, because by my count, that's an ancient, undead, necromantic, red, white dragon, dragon leech. There we go. Whichever.
We did a whole podcast episode on that.
We did do a whole one. Fine, it could be a lich if you like. Yeah.
It was decided once and for all.
Absolutely. Until I slept. And I forgot completely about it. That will happen. You need your risks. Moving quickly on.
There's a column going on over at Ian World, actually. It's called Mythological Figures. And it's been going on for, well, I don't know how long, a few months now. Quite a long time. Because there's loads and loads of them now. So basically, Mike Myler, a columnist, each week he writes up a mythological figure with D&D stats. So it might be King Arthur, or it might be Cthulhu, or it might be Merlin, or it might be Robin Hood. So he's done loads of them. Some of them are historical figures, some of them are mythical figures.
Tales from folklore, from all over.
And also, what he also does is he's good in that he sort of covers lots and lots of different countries' mythology as well. So I've kind of called out a lot of the sort of British ones because they're the ones that I'm obviously most familiar with.
Absolutely.
But he's got some Indian stuff in there. He's got
really? Like Krishna, Shiva, all that sort of jazz?
He's got Aladdin in there. He's got
Arabian, strong.
And he's working his way through them and trying to sort of vary them so he doesn't just do a whole load of British male mythological figures one after another.
That would be a little
the one he did this week was actually Queen Boudica.
Who got into a fight with the Romans and gave them a kicking.
Yeah.
Before
getting a kicking.
Yeah, it happens.
So you did her recently. It's a really great column. I really enjoy it.
Okay, so like what she gets, like multi-attack, pro D3 javelins, and
so he started up Queen Boudica as a 5th level bard, 6th level fighter.
Okay.
Challenge rating 6.
Was this Pathfinder?
No, it's D&D.
Is it?
5th edition.
Okay. So she inspires her troops and then whacks things. What sort of weapon does Boudica use? Spear?
Boudica uses spear. She has the feat master of the spear. She is a spear person. She's also a 5th level spellcaster there, being a bard.
Well, you know,
which obviously isn't entirely historically correct, but I guess it's a D&D game, so what are you going to do?
What can I say? Sometimes you just need to cast Hypnotic Pattern.
That is true. Yeah. I think that's probably it for the news today.
It's very exciting.
Yeah. Would you like to do our favourite game in all the world?
What, Gloomhaven?
Maybe your favourite game in all the world.
I've never played it, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm just hoping at the moment.
So our favourite game in all the world is the game where I tell you the name of a Kickstarter and you try to guess what it is based only on the name.
Oh, that is my favourite game in all the world.
There we go. I knew
it's completely logical, consistent, and entirely fair scoring system.
Exactly.
Well, I'm still not sure I believe in the spreadsheet. Some of these things, I'm thinking you've got an SQL query going on. Access database joke.
If I showed you the spreadsheet, it would cease to exist in a path of logic. Therefore, I've got to keep it from your prying eyes. But I assure you, it does exist, and it is very, very complex.
Those observer effects, man, they really get you in the hand. Yes, enough chitter chatter. Let's crack on.
All right then, the first one.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Born ready. Let's do this.
Ready? Okay then. Number 1. What is fiends and foes?
Fiends and foes.
Fiends and foes.
Well, I'm going to guess it's a Kickstarter, so it's going to be for some sort of bestiary. Fiends and foes, so maybe, I don't know, a demonic and devil-inspired Kickstarter. And by Kickstarter, I mean bestiary. I don't know, I'm just using the word Kickstarter in place of nouns at the moment. So yes, Fiends and Foes, that sounds like some sort of bestiary, potentially for a 5th ed / Pathfinder system, offering a whole new exciting range of demonic and devilish baddies and associated hangers-on.
Okay. I'm going to give you a astonishing score of 5 points out of 11 for that.
Okay.
Because yes, it is a bestiary, in a sense, but I think that was the easy bit.
That's easy.
The more complex bit, and it is for 5e or Pathfinder, more specifically, it is for 5e.
Shocker.
So,
Yes.
but specifically, this is a card deck in the chibi style artwork.
Oh, that's...
Don't know if you're familiar
Yeah,
with
so
that.
cute.
There we go.
There's a chippy monitor.
These are all sort of like standard.
Is that a kobold?
Yeah, it's all
Is that a
standard
kobold?
D&D monsters. Like,
It is the cutest, chubbiest little kobold.
look at that bugbear there.
Look at its little face. I've never wanted to was a bugbear's little chubby
These
cheeks
are actually,
before.
now I'm looking at them more closely, I really want these. So basically what you've got is on the front page, on the front side, you've got a card with a standard D&D monster, like a bugbear or something like that. And on the back, you've got its stats.
Nice.
And these are just like, these aren't new monsters, they're all standard cards.
No, these are all straight out of the monster manual.
Yeah.
But it's just like a little really cute, like a wizard spell card, but it's like a reminder for GMs.
And these are tarot card size, so a bit larger than playing cards.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they're gorgeous. I love them. And so there's 4 decks. Each has 40 cards. The decks are divided by challenge rating. So the first deck is Save the Farm from kobolds, sturges, gnolls,
Tier
orcs, all that sort of stuff. Then we've got deck 2 is Save the Town from ankegs and ogres and were-rats and wights and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The next one is Save the City from air elementals and hill giants and wraiths and hydras, that sort of thing. And the 4th deck is Save the Realm from dragons and treants and
From your big argorables, like your adult black dragons and all that.
yeah, mammoths, storm giants and vampires. Like that.
Nice.
And there's a whole set of example cards here.
Yeah, if we just go back a bit, did I see? Oh, and there's a wild shape deck as well.
Ooh. Yes.
Oh,
that's one of their stretch goals. So it's a well-shaped deck card. Yeah, it says for that particular deck, the contents are still under consideration, but there'll be a wide variety of animal types from CR0 to CR6.
Now, I know you don't approve of stretch goals, but I don't imagine... I mean,
I do approve of stretch goals, I just don't use them myself.
Yeah, absolutely, because you like to have the product already before it goes out. But in this particular case, I don't... The problem would mostly be getting the art done and approved, really.
Well, it looks like all yours done. Look at it. Look at all this. There's Hobgoblin there. It's just like a giant baby rust monster.
Oh, it's eating a little shoe.
Oh, these are fantastic. I love them. I absolutely love them. I literally want them. There's also a collector's edition coffee table book of them as well. It looks like. But no, I don't want the book. I want the cards.
I know they are.
They look fantastic.
They do lose a certain intimidation factor. I won't lie. But there's. I
think the only problem with them is I think it'd be better if they didn't have the name on them on the front, because if you want to hold the card up to show someone you see this, you don't necessarily want the name emblazoned in great big writing on the front of the card.
Yeah, you could. I don't know.
You could cover it up with your thumb or something, I suppose. But,
or I don't know, something clever involving.
I think I would have just kept the name to the back. I think.
Yeah.
But still, anyway.
It's choice. It's choice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next one.
Yes.
Next one is what is Age of Myth, the Ancient World Supplement.
Presumably, there's a role-playing game called Age of Myth, and this is a supplement which is set, I don't know, in the ancient world. So that'd be like your classical things like ancient Rome, Greece, Persia, Carthage, all that sort of jazz. Yeah, myths and legends.
Okay. Well, sort of. That was kind of a fairly easy one, except Age of Myth isn't the name of the game, it's just the name of the book. It's actually a supplement from 5th edition.
Oh, well, there you go.
So it's a supplement from 5th edition called Age of Myth, Ancient World Supplement.
Goodness, that's interesting. There wasn't there just recently Arcadia, which was a successfully funded...
Yeah. That was only a few weeks ago.
That was Greek myths and stuff.
So this one's ancient Greek themes, 90-page hardcover, includes new race options, including the orthocthones.
The orthocthones.
Is that how you pronounce that? The satyroi.
I you know what? I think it might be autochthones rather than orthocthones. And chthone basically means just like, comes from cave, Charogaya. Satyroi. So it's like
half human,
assassins.
half goat.
Myrmidons, which are
Ants transformed by a god of war into human soldiers. And
so-
the Cynocephali.
Yes.
Dog and
dog?
jackal-headed invaders of the sea and desert, as well as centaurs and minotaurs, plus there's class options, magic items, and some mini adventures and stuff. That sounds quite exciting. But even more exciting is some of the stretch goals, additional books from the ancient world. Egypt is next up.
Ooh, that's a lot of extra gods.
That's the only stretch goal that they've announced at the time of me reading this now. Presumably hopefully there'll be more, possibly Rome or something like that after that. But right now it's Egypt is next up, with 4 new races, 3 new classes, 15 extra monsters, and 25 new magic items, and 5 more backgrounds. I love these supplements that just give you a list of numbers of things they've got in it.
Absolutely. We're not saying what they are. They might be like 90 of the same creature with a slightly different head. I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't particularly want a Roman supplement because, like, the Romans were many things, but they were not gifted myth makers.
They stole myths, didn't they?
Well, absolutely, it is like that. In many ways, it was much like the British Empire. It went
Well,
across
we'll see.
the world
I mean,
saying,
who knows?
"This looks nice, we'll have it."
We'll find out what happens with the Kickstarter stretch goals.
Well, so I see there it's funded in 12 hours.
Yeah.
So, good to go. Well done them. Moving swiftly on.
Moving swiftly on. RPG stamps.
RPG stamps.
RPG stamps.
I'm going to guess it's a collection of rubber stamps, potentially self-inking if the boat is all the way out, or using some forms of ink pads, and it will be like what I put on an RPG stamp. I don't know, hilarious RPG related trivia or something.
Okay, well,
or
you
memes.
get 1001.5 points for that.
Out of
1002.
Wow, one of my best scores yet.
It is, it's not bad. So you're pretty much exactly spot on. So you basically get these rubber stamps, and they've got things like cause of death, quest complete, you have survived, that sort of thing, RIP.
That seems a little harsh.
And you just stamp them on the character sheet. So your character dies, you get this cause of death stamp.
Cause of death.
I think it's quite fun.
Failure to spot a walk.
So they're 5 centimetres by 5 centimetres. That's 2 by 2 inches.
Yeah.
And they come pre-inked in a choice of colours. You can have black, blue, red, and pink. Yeah, there we go. 2 inches about. Yeah, they're quite large, that actually, isn't it?
That's going to take a lot of real estate, actually. Okay.
Yeah. I guess if your character's dead, I suppose it matters.
No, indeed. Yeah.
The final one.
Boss fight.
Lex Arcana.
Nice.
An empire without end.
Oh, well, I'm going to say Lex Arcana. Would be magic law. So it's going to be about an empire compare and contrast with Pax Romana, the Roman peace. So the Lex Arcana would be the magic law. And it's the law that this group of wizards who've taken over the world have applied to people and said, this is where it is now. Suck it up and see. So, wow, that's amazing.
Is that what Lex means, law? I know Pax is rule, isn't it?
Pax is peace.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Roman peace.
Okay, so what's Lex?
Pretty sure it's law, but it's also from the same root as word. Maybe it's magic word. I'm just completely wrong.
I don't know. Maybe it's
lexicon would be a list of words, so I guess it's magic word.
Maybe it's just Luther. I don't know.
Luther?
Lex Luthor.
Look, Chris.
Anyway, right, I'll tell you what this is because you are wrong. It is Roman.
Okay.
Roman imperial legions clash with barbaric hordes on the field of battle, while ancient monsters, mystical powers, and nameless cults threaten the rule of the Caesars within. I'm curious about how a nameless cult works.
I don't know. Must make advertising.
When they're talking to each other about the cult, I mean, what do they must use a word to refer to it, and by definition, that word is the name of the cult.
Are we down the where?
Yeah. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Say no more, say no more.
See you on Saturday night. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Oh, yeah. Don't mind if I do. What, have you got your gear ready? Oh, yes, I do, mate. Yes, I do. Yeah. All nicely ready.
Yeah.
Definitely time getting the stones out from last time. Like an Australian Colton.
So what this is it's an RPG. It was originally published in '93 in Italy.
Okay.
And the designers of that 1993 version have reunited for this new edition in English as opposed to presumably Italian. Or Latin. Maybe it was in Latin. That would be awesome if it had been in Latin.
Seems unlikely.
It seems unlikely, but you know what? I would actually, if someone published an RPG in Latin, I'd probably buy it just for the novelty.
You heard it here first. Russ will literally buy RPGs he cannot read.
No, not all RPGs I cannot read. Just Latin RPGs.
That's
One Latin RPG I cannot
What's
read.
wrong with German RPGs? You can't read those either.
I can't, but German's not quite as cool as Latin.
It's true, Latin does have a cachet, as the previous lingua franca, which is a phrase meaning French language, which is of course English, which is something that I will at some point explain to my English as a foreign language students because they will love that.
I'm sure they will.
They won't. Anyway, moving on.
Okay, I think that's it for the favourite game in all the world this week.
Oh, say
You did very well, apart from the bits where you didn't do very well. Those bits you did very poorly in, but there are some bits where you did very well, and I'm very proud of you for that.
Sass pass from Sass.
I'm always tempted to pat you on the head in a very condescending manner. You're squinting at me now.
Apparently, Russ doesn't know what a baleful glare is.
Oh, is that what that was? A baleful glare.
Yes. That's what my wife keeps giving me. So I can fix it from there. Yeah. Moving swiftly on.
Stop! Who would cross the bridge of death must answer me these questions. The other side, he see.
Ask me the questions, Bridgekeeper. I am not afraid.
What is your name?
Arthur, King of the Britons.
What is your quest?
I search for the Holy Grail.
And what is the speed of an unladen swallow?
Approximately 24 miles per hour.
Oh, I didn't think you'd get that one. Very well. What is the distance from the Earth to the Sun?
93 million miles, give or take, depending upon the time of year and the exact position of the Earth's orbit.
What is the chemical symbol for lead?
PB, it is from the Latin plumum.
What is the name of the ancient Aztec god of rain?
You ask hard questions, Bridgekeeper. I believe it to be Tlaloc.
Correct. Very well. What is the name of the winner of the Best Picture Oscar in 1968?
In the heat of the night.
The height of Mount Olympus.
Well, Mount Olympus in Greece is on the order of 2,918 metres, whereas Mount Olympus on Mars is a good 16 miles high.
The inventor of chlorofluorocarbons.
Why, the same man has invented leaded petrol. Thomas Midgley died in a terrible contraption of his own devising, which he meant to use to adjust his bed.
Interesting. The inventor of the printing press.
Gutenberg.
It seems I must make these questions more difficult. Very well. What are the names of all 7 dwarfs?
From the 1937 animated Disney film, Grumpy, Happy, Sleepy, Bashful, Sneezy, Dopey and Doc.
What are the names of the planets of the solar system?
Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. You also have dwarf planets, Pluto, Ceres, Haumea, Makemeke and Eris. That is just merely my feeble understanding of the matter.
What is the number of questions that I have asked you today?
About 10 or 12, I think.
Okay, so today, Peter, you wanted to talk a bit about creating characters.
Yes. It's a sort of thing that generally GMs and so forth leave to people to get on with. But really, it's not the sort of thing that you really want to have done in isolation.
Well, I personally enjoy including it as part of session 0, because I find character creation to be quite a sort of fun group activity.
Absolutely.
Especially if you create characters where you've assumed that the characters know each other. So you can sort of tie in different elements of their characters to each other, which I always find quite good fun.
Absolutely. That sounds like a really good way to do it.
And also it means the GM is there so he can sort of offer a couple of tips as to what sort of characters might be appropriate, or as people make their characters, at least he's very, very aware of what characters are going to be in this thing, rather than, they turn up on a Thursday night with a bunch of fully made characters and... any GM worth his salt, obviously that doesn't matter, but still knowing in advance exactly what you're dealing with definitely gives you a slight advantage in running the game, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for a start, you can tailor your adventure to make sure that you're providing challenges that lets the spotlight shine on all of your characters.
So if you include that as part of your session 0, and to be honest, if it's a brand new game that your players haven't played before anyway, you're probably going to have to do that with them anyway. The whole idea of people going off and doing it by themselves pretty much assumes they know the game.
Absolutely.
Or they're like some of my Thursday night players, you just tell them the game and they learn it in about 2 seconds and then create incredibly optimized characters and turn up with them the following week knowing the system far better than you do, which is always fun, but still.
I mean, would you ever make characters for a campaign game?
Probably wouldn't for a campaign. For a one-shot, absolutely. Free-generated characters are very useful for that sort of thing. Especially if you're talking convention play or something like that, and you're introducing people to a new game. Like the Judge Dredd Quickstarter, and most quick starts have pre-generated characters in them.
Yep.
Just because, on a one-shot, you probably don't want to waste all that time.
But it's not very quick.
Depends on the game. I mean, some games it is very quick, but it depends. But generally speaking, characters for one-shots are also kind of tailored towards that particular adventure. So you already know that the party has the right mix of skills and abilities that is needed.
So there's various different ways to have characters be generated. One can have classes, or one can have a sort of a points-buy system.
Yeah.
Which do you favour?
Oh, but there's so many ways of doing it. I mean, that's just two. There's so many ways of doing it. But classes are very, very useful because they immediately give you an archetype and tell you what this character is. And while that does mean, obviously, it can be limiting by definition, and sometimes limiting choices is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because paralysis for choice is never if you just end up with a whole bunch of people trying to choose from so many different options, they don't come up with anything coherent or focused. Whereas with character classes, you've already got that bit of the work done for you.
It's much harder to make a mistake when you're generating from a class than it is if you just have a free choice.
Yeah, and also sort of with very, very broad skill-based systems, there is also a danger of people coming up with fairly sort of bland characters without any particular focus to them. And I always think an RPG character, although it doesn't have to be super optimized all the time, depending on the game, certainly needs to have some kind of focus or hook.
Like a storytelling focus.
Well, yeah, but also a sort of ability-based one as well, just so you kind of know this is the guy that can do this sort of thing.
Sort of a niche specialisation.
Yeah, I mean, like the A-team, you've got the face, and you've got BA's the muscle, and Hannibal's the planner, and Murdoch's the pilot, for example.
Yeah.
And BA's the mechanic too.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, you kind of, while you don't need to sort of optimise them, it's not like any of them are like the best in the world at doing their particular things. At least you know what their role in the team is, for example.
Oh, absolutely. Like having a purpose in being there.
Yeah.
Helps them fit in. Avoiding duplication of roles.
Yeah. I mean, D&D does that perfectly well. I mean, the traditional D&D classes, of course, going back, are just the core four.
Yeah.
So you've got your fighter,
Yeah.
you've got your cleric, you've got your wizard or magic user or whatever it's called in whichever iteration of D&D you're playing, and your thief, strat / rogue. And that basically covers your fighting, your healing, your sort of generic spell casting, and your sneaky trapping.
And you're nicking stuff.
Yeah, and your door picking and stuff. And that covers the sort of broader sort of things that a traditional dungeon crawly D&D game is ever going to particularly need.
With these, it's important to get all your players together because then they can decide amongst themselves. Where do you stand on backgrounds? How much background do you get from your players?
Depends on the game. Not a lot, to be fair. And I'm okay with that. I mean, I do know that some people do like to write extensive backgrounds for their characters. That's fine. If they do that, I'll definitely try and incorporate that into the campaign. That, some people just aren't into that or don't have the time, and that's fine too. I mean, things like backgrounds in D&D pretty much do that again for you in a very, very simple way.
Oh, you mean like not quite the class features, but things like criminal or sailor, things that give you bonus proficiency.
The backgrounds, I mean, that's a very, very, very simple implementation of, rather than sort of writing an essay. It just gives you a little sort of conceptual hook as to who this character is without making any big, broad, mechanical sort of changes.
Yeah, one of the things I've seen in other games is stuff like 13th Age is one unique thing. That's really strong, isn't it?
It's a clever idea, that, I did enjoy that.
The idea being, if you haven't seen it, that there is something that is true about your character and your character only in the entirety of this world that you've created.
For example?
Well, ones that I have seen are can talk to spiders, is the only elf with round ears, not pointed.
Okay, that's a slightly more obscure one, but okay.
It's obscure, but it's legit.
It's a brilliant idea. 13th Age has got a lot going for it, and that is one of my favourite things about it. Other things you can do, of course, is sort of career-based systems, which develop your background as you go. So the first ones that ever did that were Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay and I think Traveller. Both did that early on.
What would you say the difference between a class-based system and a career-based system is?
So a class-based system gives you a track to follow for your entire. I mean, you can ignoring multi-classing, which complicates it. Gives you a track to follow. So you are going to be a rogue, and you're going to get better at roguing all the way through your career, and eventually you're going to be a very, very
top-tier rogue.
Yeah. So that's what a class-based system does. It focuses you, gives you an archetype, and you go from 0 to hero within that archetype. For a career-based system, it's more realistic, as it's, and not that realism is necessarily a goal of RPGs, but if you are after realism,
you need a certain amount of realism to promote immersion, I think.
So with a career-based system, you might choose sequential careers. So you could sort of say started off as a farmhand. And then I had joined the militia for 6 years, but unfortunately I was caught stealing and ended up in prison for another 6 years. And when I escaped, I was a drifter for a couple of years before I finally got a job as a bartender or a rat catcher or became a mercenary or whatever. And each of these different career building blocks, build up your character's past.
Yeah.
So you've got a pre-written sort of background and past, but also each one gives you, depending on the system, incremental advances to your character. So you just picking a career system that obviously I'm very familiar with without wanting to sort of trump my own stuff constantly, but obviously what's sold as new users one. Each career, as you take it, you start play with 5 careers. Each career will give you some attribute bonuses, some skill bonuses, and one exploit, which is special ability. And so as you take each career, you just layer those on top of each other, and then what you've got at the end is your final character. So essentially, career-based systems are very simple generally, because each career is a much smaller building block than a class's. It's more like just like one level of a class almost, I suppose, and they build on top of each other.
Okay.
I've always loved them. That's why I use them in my game, and I've loved them since Woofup did it, since Traveller did it. Great way of building characters. I quite like you remember the game Dredd, the Jenga Tower game?
Yes.
Role-playing game Dredd. So basically, character creation for Dredd is to answer some questions that the GM has set you. And
little questionnaire.
A little questionnaire. And I remember my first experience of Dredd was the game was run by a friend. I was over at Gen Con at the time. Or was it at his house after Gen? I can't remember. Anyway, I was over in the US at the time. And one of the questions, and it worked so well, and he asked this of all. The questionnaires can be different per person, can be different per game. Basically, it's up to the GM. And he did do that. But one question was on everybody's little questionnaire. And it was, how did you get those shoes? Just never had a question like that, and it was such a brilliant question because people came up with such different answers as to how they got those shoes.
Absolutely.
One person said, these are the shoes that I wore when I was in the army. I think they're lucky. These boots, they're lucky because, I survived all the way through World War II. And now I wear them all the time.
Yeah.
Another one, it was a woman, and she says, these red pumps, I had to knock out a prostitute who was trying to mug me, and I decided to take her shoes in a dark alley. And, it was, you come out with all these totally different character backstories just based on that one single question.
Especially for Dredd, where there is no character background generated.
Exactly.
You're sort of getting that instant buy-in, really, aren't you?
Yeah, it's fine. That was good fun. Another one I quite like was the old Ghostbusters RPG.
Oh, yeah.
Where each character fits on a credit card-sized thing.
Oh, so that's very small for a character, isn't it?
So basically, you have 4 stats, and if I can remember what they are, one was cool, one was moves, one was brains, it was brains or smarts or something like that, and one was a physical one. It might have been brawn or something like that. Anyway, 4 stats.
Yeah.
That's basically it, and they'd have a score like 3 or 4 or something in 4 stats. And then each of those abilities, those 4 things, you'd also have a specialisation. So you might have, I don't know,
intelligence, proton pack repair.
Or something. And in that, so basically you roll the number of dice that was the stat. So for example, with intelligence, so brains I think was the ability score. You might have brains 3. So anything brains related, you'd roll 3d6.
Okay.
But if it was your special skill, which is proton pack repair, and you have 1 for each of the 4 stats, you add 3 to that. So you'd roll 66 instead.
Oh, wow, okay. Yeah.
And I quite like that. And that's basically the entire character. It's just these 4 things. You couldn't die in that game. You didn't really have to worry about an awful lot of stuff. Yeah, little credit card, an entire character.
Well, that's actually a really interesting thing. I mean, talking about user interfaces is something that I think could well be the next big thing in role-playing games.
Well, I think the character sheet's not a bad user interface. It's been around for 40 years. It works pretty well.
But absolutely, and it's the first thing that a new player to your game will see.
Yeah,
so
that is true, yeah.
I think character sheets... You design character sheets. What sort of user experience?
I don't tend to design them myself. I sort of tell a layout person what needs to be on them, and they come up with different sort of designs depending on the... Well, basically, I always feel the character sheet's got to be thematically correct. And evoke the feeling of the game you're playing. So, for example, if you're playing some kind of, I don't know, spy game, your character sheet might look like a typewritten intelligence dossier. With sort of like yellow paper and sort of courier font and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
If you're playing
so it looks like an old document.
Yeah.
If you're playing a sci-fi game, it's got more futuristic fonts.
Yeah.
So maybe like a sort of pseudo circuit board imagery.
Or as a superhero game, it should be bold and colourful and things like that. So I think that basically
scream kapow at you.
Because if you think about it, that's your player's gateway into this world. It's this one sheet of paper you put in front of them, or they.
If it's just one sheet of paper, then you're lucky indeed.
Yeah, but that's their portal into this world. So that has to look the part. I always feel.
Yes,
because it's so useful in putting them in the right frame of mind.
Yeah. But what about like where you place information? Is that something you ever considered?
Yeah, I mean, you put more useful information up near the top and make it bigger. More commonly used information there. There's quite a lot of games include elements of character generation on the character sheet, which I think possibly confuses matters a little.
Yes.
Like I'm trying to think of some examples. The old FASA games, they used to have these little boxes you tick off as you went through various careers and stuff. But they're all during character generation and had no purpose whatsoever once you started the game. But they were there taking up a third of the character sheet.
Wow, that's a lot of space.
Yeah, and you could use that space for something else.
And the old White Wolf games, they also had, it costs X to do this. But that was also for experience as well.
Yeah.
So it wasn't entirely offbeat, as it were.
One great way of character creation, which I quite like, which I've seen before, and which I was just reminded of not that long ago by Ryan Nock, who's a game designer, and he's designing an adventure called Waking Nightmares. He's got this group it's a sci-fi adventure, and you come out of cyber sleep, coming towards the end of your voyage where something's gone wrong and you've come out too early and you've lost all your memories.
Ooh.
So you basically come out with a blank character sheet. And basically you generate your character throughout the adventure as you regain memories, which I thought was a very clever one. And because the game he was using basically on was a career-based system, it was very much designed to do that. So basically every sort of few sort of scenes in the adventure, a character would remember another career he'd have. Or she had, and her skills would increase a little bit in these things. And she said, "Actually, I do know how to pick locks," and that sort of thing. And the memories, sort of like the Doctor. When the Doctor
regeneration.
has that, post regeneration thing. There we go. Callback, spun it right round. It was totally relevant. So and suddenly remembers, like the Doctor was like remembering she had these skills and she could build stuff and she could do this and do that.
Yeah, that seems pretty strong.
And that's a way of sort of organically creating a character while playing, which I think is quite fun, especially for a new player. That could be fun.
Oh, absolutely.
See, that's the interesting thing is when you're playing a sort of D20 based game, so you're playing Pathfinder or D&D or something like that. Certainly in my experience anyway, you'll always get this spark where, okay, we're going to play Pathfinder next week. So everyone will go, oh, cool, right, okay. So then they'll go, right, so what's everyone playing? I mean, I'm happy to play the cleric if someone wants to play the fighter. And it's like people already know in advance what these sort of roles are. Not necessarily the exact classes they're going to use, but the basic sort of roles that need to be filled. They know that they're going to need a healer. They know they're going to need a caster. They know they're going to need someone who can fight and stuff like that.
They're sort of like almost, because previously we had like, fighty man, magic man, healy man.
Well, originally it was fighting man, wasn't it? Fighting man and magic user were the
original classes, yeah.
Fighting man, magic user, thief, and I guess it was cleric, was it back then? I can't remember.
Yeah, but certainly by the time you got onto third ed, you needed a cleric, you needed a rogue, you needed a fighter, and you needed a wizard.
So certainly in those games, people are...
Those were what you had.
People are claiming the slots, as it were. Yeah,
exactly. And then something kind of strange happened. You had online role-playing games like World of Warcraft, where you had guilds, and then these new concepts coming, like tanks and...
Well, they're just names for archetypes, aren't they, essentially? They're roles.
Yeah, they are roles, but it's a sort of a shift in focus, and certainly with things like 5th Ed, because...
Well, different classes can fulfil the same role.
Well, the same class can fulfill different roles.
Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Like, for example, thematically, one could have a party of, say, dwarves, and that's fine, and they can all be different classes, but something that a lot of people don't really think about is you could also have a party of, say, bards, or even fighters, and the different subclasses that people would then choose... would actually be still able to fill these things, like damage per round.
I think quite to the same extent the different classes would, but yeah, certainly that is true. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, not everyone's going to be as good at doing everything as others.
Yeah,
but certainly things like giving temporary hit points, being inspiring.
So that is interesting though. That the sort of D&D family of games do come at it from that angle, and they players always come saying, right, now we're creating a group of adventurers. We know that these basic slots have to be filled in some manner. Whichever iteration of the game we're using, whichever sort of exact mechanics we're using, we basically need these different sort of slots to be filled.
Oh, absolutely.
Whereas other games, that doesn't happen at all. For example, if you're playing Call of Cthulhu, that conversation doesn't even come into play. You just try to come up with an interesting character and then you kind of base it around that.
I think possibly because there's like less combat as sport.
Yeah.
In Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah. Combat in Call of Cthulhu is quite the short-lived affair.
You've done something wrong, and they will be eaten by a brew. I mean, I think that's a problem that I can run into with sci-fi games, is that people say, I want to drive something.
Yeah.
You then have to start looking for opportunities to find things for them to drive.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, in a tabletop role-playing game, being on a vehicle with someone driving it tends to be problematic. A lot of games don't handle that mechanically super well.
Yeah.
I tend to find, so...
There really needs to be something for everyone to do, because otherwise, if there's any conflict or there's a chase or something, people are going to... You don't want people to be like sitting there helpless.
Yeah,
because that removes player agency.
Well, that's one of the problems that Starship Combat often has in sci-fi games.
Yeah.
And each player needs to not only have something to do, it also needs to not just be make work.
Yeah.
The game
It's
doesn't
got to
just
have
sat down and just try to think of something to make the player do for the sake of doing something. It's got to be important.
And that's where the game aspect comes in.
Yeah.
Like, they've got to have something meaningful to do.
Yeah. Otherwise, they won't feel that they're contributing because they're not. Essentially,
well,
they're just being kept busy.
Yeah, that's something like potentially where things like Powered by the Apocalypse could help because they're so rules light. If you do anything, you make a roll successfully, you could like change the game to give an advantage.
Yeah.
Just interpret it. But I feel that puts a lot of work on the GM and the players to interpret the fiction. Whereas if you've got like more concrete options, if there are rules, that lets you do things with those.
Yeah. Anyway,
Anyway,
I think we've probably talked all we can about character creation for today.
I'm sure we could go into stats, but yeah, I think in broad strokes we've got a lot of stuff
Go
done.
into stats if you want to go into stats.
Let's not.
All right, let's not go into stats. Let's avoid the stats at all costs.
Absolutely.
All right.
Your editor Daryl here to remind you about our Patreon at patreon.com/Morrus. Every week, the day after the episode goes live, we post an exclusive outtakes and deleted scenes episode that just won't stop growing. This week's is going to be well over half an hour yet again, with more character creation tips and discussions, including more about party roles, different character generation methods, evil and amoral parties, and more. Plus, more of Captain Peter's adventures on the high seas, Russ's dog tries to get in on the show, an impromptu review of the Venom film, and a lot more. You can get access to all of the outtakes and deleted scenes episodes and help keep the show going over at patreon.com/Morrus.
I think we're probably done for today. Should we wind it up?
If you are enjoying this podcast, please tell your friends. Simple as that. Recommend Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG talk.
It would really, really help, actually, if you could leave a review on iTunes.
Absolutely.
That really helps with the visibility of the show. And also, if you could pop over to Facebook, there's the Facebook group where you can chat about episodes, answer polls, so we can find out more about you and how we should be sort of toning our episodes. It turns out we actually did do a poll on Facebook. And, there we go. Shall I just read this bit out then? So people can find out about themselves. There we go.
We want to make our show more of what you want to listen to.
We did ask on Facebook how long people had been gaming for, just so we could get a sort of idea as to whether we were talking just sort of old school gamers, whether our listeners tended to be newbies and stuff like that. The results are interesting. It seemed that nobody who answered the poll had been gaming for less than 3 years. Most of the people who answered the poll have been gaming for over 20 years. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7 people 31 plus years.
10.
7, 8, 9, 10, 20 years plus. So, yeah, it looks like basically our listenership does tend to skew towards the more experienced gamer, which is interesting. But I'd really like to sort of hear if there are any of you out there who are newbies to gaming, who've been gaming for less than a couple of years. And if so, if you could pop over to the Facebook group and just sort of like drop a note, it would just be really interesting just to see.
Yeah. Or just drop us an email at the podcast email address.
Oh yeah, you can always drop us emails out at morruspodcast@gmail.com with reviews of recent products or other comments or anything like that. If you're interesting, you might get read out on air.
It seems quite likely that we do so.
Yes. Right, so I think we're probably done for today.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much for listening. This will be me, Russ, signing off.
That's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
What? Oh, is it over? I was taking a nap because they were so boring. I think I'll probably torture Russ a bit this evening, just to amuse myself. Maybe the rack. I'm sure I'd enjoy stretching him out a bit until his bones crack. Maybe it'll improve his terrible posture.